Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to Jibber. Let's just talk for a while. I am your host, Skajarmas, otherwise known as Tone Shift, and today I am joined by Tom117Z, not a patron of mine, but he is an honorary member, and he was the author of Change, and is also the author of Soaring on Little Wings. For those of you who are pledged to my Patreon, that is the exclusive reading that you can only get there. Next up, we have Tobias Brenne, otherwise known as Trinit2 for some reason, and he is my most recent patron, clocking in at $15 per post. Very large. And then there's Hades Shadow 97. I forget his pledge amount because I'm lazy. So, just as a quick summary for anyone who does not know, which is basically everyone watching this video, as I didn't do any announcements beforehand, I'm lazy, this series is basically just going to be me sitting down with people in my Discord server to just talk about random stuff for an hour or so. So, the date today is the 14th of January, 2018. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hi guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Hello. Little shameless plug there.
God damn it, Tom.
Yes.
God damn it, Tom.
I've been trying to do that since the start. I could not resist.
Of course. Of fucking course you couldn't. So, welcome to the show, everyone, and
Nice being here.
So yeah, so I suppose I probably should have planned it out a bit more in advance, but I didn't because I'm a lazy.
You are the lazy of the lazies.
Yes, thank you.
Laziness rules.
Add that to your list of titles. It certainly stands out from all the other bastards and bastards UX20s.
Oh yeah, yes. On Skype, my nickname is the utter bastard, as labeled by Tom, because of what I did with the first story in the Fiends trilogy, entitled "The Mare That Eats the Monsters."
You murderous bastard.
Yes. You horrible, horrible person.
Do not speak of it here. Spoilers. If anyone wants to know what the fuck we're talking about, go read "The Mare That Eats the Monsters" on filmfiction.net. It's dark.
Or go read the Idiocy verse because it's much nicer and weird, but it'll make you smile rather than cry.
Poking.
Bitter tears. I regret everything about that story.
Blackmail for who?
What did we do?
Yes. Oh my god, that was so much fun to write. So, I guess a good way to go about this would be, did any of you have anything specific in mind you wanted to talk about? If so, I'll just go down the list of who all's in the chat and we'll just tackle the topics one at a time. Anyone have anything in mind?
Not much. We're thinking of how others are viewing season 7.
I didn't quite understand that.
Nope.
We're thinking what others are thinking about season 7 of MLP.
Oh, okay, so, alright, I guess that makes sense, alright. So I guess our first topic of the day, people's thoughts on season 7. Alright, fair enough.
It had Daybreaker in it, which was amazing.
From my perspective, it's probably been my favorite season just because of the first 13 episodes. The first 13 episodes were just amazing. I love those first 13 episodes. There was so much good shit.
We had Apple Parents.
Yes, I mean, there was a flurry of emotions. There was all bottled up. There was, as you said, Applejack's parents. There was there was A Royal Problem. Amazing episode. I freaking loved that to death. There was so much good.
Daybreaker.
There was so much amazing stuff in the first half of season 7. Just that first half, even if there were only 13 episodes in season 7, it would probably still be my favorite season just because of those first 13 episodes.
A Royal Problem is probably my second favorite episode behind The Perfect Pair. The Perfect Pair is one of the few episodes that actually made me cry, so
right?
How's that going for it?
That damn song, man.
And we still don't know how they died.
Well,
Well, of course not.
Well, you know, it's a kid's show.
Yeah, for kids.
Where they showed a villain getting brutally disintegrated.
Yeah.
I mean,
and another
to be
guy
fair,
gets shattered into a million pieces.
well, I mean, to be fair, there are plenty of other kid shows from way back before this current century that were potentially even darker. Things have gotten
True.
I mean, things have gotten soft, so to speak, in the last decade or two.
Yes,
I'm
they
just glad
have.
I'm just glad Gen 4 isn't Gen 3.5.
Oh, no,
Party, 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 party,
No,
party,
no,
party,
no,
party,
no.
party, party, party.
We do not speak of that.
Shooby-doo.
oh, nightmare
Did you
fuel.
actually notice this season Discord's like singing teabags were singing Shooby Dooby Doo, the old Sea Pony song?
Oh God.
At one point, they were
I keep think- Oh, help. No! Help!
Don't you like the Shooby Dooby Doo?
Nightmare fuel!
Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you?
Wrong show, Brian.
I know. But the resemblance as far as wording goes is still there. I can do it. Fuck you.
Yeah, kind of made me think of that. Now, what about the second half of season 7, Town?
Well, I did enjoy the second half as well. Most of my favorite episodes of the season were in the first half. But I did.
Yeah,
but
the second half was weaker and contains one of the only episodes of MLP I didn't like at all.
Which one was that?
And what was that?
Triple Threat. Goddamn Spike episodes.
Oh,
Stop talking. That's how you do it.
Oh.
I mean, there was some good stuff in that episode. It was weak in general, but it did have some good stuff.
Spike didn't solve shit.
No, not really.
They solved it themselves, or Spike was just smoking.
The idea was for him to learn the lesson, not fix it.
You know, I was a little disappointed with that episode. When I saw the preview, I was thinking like, oh, are we going to see like a history of like the changelings and dragons having like an old war or an old rivalry or something? No, it's just
Spike being
Spike.
himself.
All that episode did was create another ship between Thorax and Ember. Yay.
Oh God.
I mean, to be fair, Ember is very shippable.
She is many people's
Screw
wifey.
Although there was that one scene with Derpy, I think about broke her for the fandom.
You mean where she had the punk hair?
No,
You
the
don't
one
make
scene,
Derpy cry.
The one scene with the muffin, she just smashes it in front of Derpy.
I forget where that was. Where was this?
That was
Ember smashed Derpy's muffin. She is a monster.
Oh, right. That. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Fuck Ember.
Derpy is best background pony.
yes,
Next to the Doctor, because I'm a Whovian.
next to the Doctor.
And they are
Ruby.
together, so yeah. Well, companion, but
I stopped watching Doctor Who after the 11th.
And
11th
Mike
was my
Capaldi.
favorite.
While we're on the topic of Doctor Who and ponies and shit, I just want to bring up something that I kind of wish would keep going. It's actually what initially got me into audio dramas in the first place, which spawned my work on Spectra some years back. It was a radio play called Doctor Who's the Great, in which Trixie was the companion.
Maravex's Doctor. Yes, I loved that.
I listened to a different one where it was the Doctor and Twilight traveling, and Twilight went evil at one point.
Doctor Who's and Adventures. That's
no one is
Pony in a
surprised by
Box.
this.
Yeah.
They ended up in the timeline got fucked at one point, and Alec on Twilight in the future was an evil dictator.
Oh yes, Traveler. Yeah, I remember.
I
Yeah,
haven't listened to that one. Again, Doctor Who's the Great is the one I listened to.
They never completed that storyline, though they had also an uncompleted fic version of it on Film Fiction where the Doctor and Twilight ended up in the future with this evil version of Twilight who had brainwashed the future Doctor and used him to create a whole new race of Daleks just to piss the Doctor's past self off.
Exterminate!
Yep, she was as sadistic as they came.
Yep.
I keep thinking that Twilight could do the same in this reality. Just this time, it's befriend everyone.
Oh God.
Befriend! Befriend! Befriend!
Did not happen in that fic. The Daleks exterminated pretty much everyone in their way.
Yep.
Applejack's resistance did not last long after that.
Oh.
No.
Ah, damn.
Applejack survived.
Aw.
But the rest
That's
didn't.
nice.
Although it is interesting to point out, a lot of radio dramas in the fandom seem to use the format of, at least from what few I've actually bothered to look at, I know I should probably look at more, but the ones I've actually bothered to look at use a combination of, all of the voice acting of the characters and sound effects and music and ambience and whatnot, but also a narrator to cover in gaps. And and that works, that's fine, but I actually don't like that at all. That actually bugs me very much.
What you describe reminds me of the Fallout Equestria radio player that they never really did much with.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
it had that same formula of a narrator sort of filling in the gaps when nothing's happening, and that makes sense, I suppose, but I don't really like that. A narrator filling in for that sort of experience just takes me out of it. Generally speaking, I like being able to visualize for what's going on my own without having to rely on a narrator, and that was kind of the philosophy behind the scripting with Spectra, was have character actions, their dialogue and sound effects and whatnot sort of paint the picture itself without having to rely on a narrator. So like character comments, even if they sound slightly artificial, could still help paint the picture without having to rely on a narrator and without breaking that sort of, I guess, immersion. It's not a game, but it prevents the listener from being broken out of the here and now by a sudden narrator who has no actual character.
You like dragging us in and then jump scaring us with stabbing sound effects.
I don't remember that happening in any of the episodes of Spectra I actually got uploaded.
I'm talking about the reading of Change.
Oh yeah,
But I remember.
To be fair, that was before I actually started adding in background ambience and sound effects. It was just music, and that one.
Yeah, and there was that one sound effect for the stabbing, and that I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah,
I shit myself.
Yeah, a stab sound.
I jumped out of my chair.
A stab sound, the screen flickers, and then a heartbeat that gradually gets more and more distant and echoey, and that was a fun sequence. That was a fun sequence to edit.
I hope it was more fun than it was for me to write.
Oh,
That was 2016, blimey.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I started my reading of Change in February of last year.
Yeah.
And Tom, weren't you not expecting me to actually finish it? You were thinking I was just going to get a couple chapters.
We were talking about this the other day in Skype.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up. It's an interesting anecdote.
I was honestly expecting you to, because I've seen this a lot with a lot of different YouTubers who do what you do. They get a few episodes in, then they stop.
Yeah.
So that was what I was expecting, and then you continued it, and now we're friends, and the world is worse off for it because idiocy is a thing.
Yes, the idiocy verse is a thing. That is a thing. I mean, hold on. Let me just go find that group really quick. I've got Film Fiction open because I'm trying to keep tabs on notifications.
Idiocyverse.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep tabs on notifications because I do have little choices in progress. Okay, here. So let me just look at. So the first story in the Idiocyverse was actually just an April Fool's chapter in The Bug and the Herd and Change Queen of the Hive. Same exact chapter. The only real difference was the spacing and formatting, and the number assigned to the chapter.
There can only be one.
Yes, and the chapter was called Idiocy in Spring. And for The Bug and the Herd, it was chapter 1622. Whereas for Change Queen of the Hive, it was 2216.
It was chapter 16 of his story and chapter 22 of my story.
Yeah,
That's why.
And then after that, I'm trying to remember the exact order it went in. I think the first.
Well,
one
it should be in just.
Okay. I think it was the one where Maud gets excited was the first one that was officially on its own.
It was. It goes in the order that they've been uploaded.
Okay. And then it was Twiggles the Bunny in Twilight's Castle. That was a fun one. The one with Gummy and Boulder, a sequel to the one
where
where
we create a Boulder. We create a Boulder Celestia ship.
Oh my god.
Your kingdom will be mine. Your foals will be mine. Dude, is that what this is
What?
about? Do you have a crush on Celestia? Shut up, I can dream! Because Boulder is Russian, apparently. Oh, and then there was the death altar in Twilight's basement.
True story, based on a true story.
Yes, it is actually based off of a true story, kind of, sorta. It actually uses the cover art is actually the cover art is actually a screenshot I took of the event as it was transpiring.
Of me and him discovering this horrible secret of Twilight's.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun story, so I think I'll actually tell it. So you all know about the MMO Legends of Equestria, right? The Unity MMO, Ponies, all that fan made.
Yeah, I'm very certain I do.
Well, it not all that long ago went into public access, so people can actually just hop in without having to wait for an open access thing or whatever. They can just hop in and play, and I should probably get back to that at some point because it's fun as fuck. Anyways, and we were just running around, exploring, chatting, having a good time, messing around, just doing the tutorial quests, and at one point we wound up in Ponydale because copyright.
Yeah.
And we went inside and just kind of perused around a bit, just looking at some stuff. And Tom, when we were in Twilight's basement, Tom found a secret passage behind one of Twilight's bookcases in the basement. And we went through and we found this weird hidden lab in the back. It was odd. It was secluded. There were vials and shit. There was a big tarp smothering one half of the room. You go around the tarp, and there's this really fucking weird altar. It's like there's a pony skull with 3 long spiky rib cages coming out of it. Well, not rib cages, spinal cords that kind of look like tentacles that stab into a circular base at the bottom, with red glowy magic sort of petrified coming out of the eyes and in flowing waves.
And there was actually a Twilight Sparkle player on at the time.
There were a few, and we spoke in chat.
Yeah.
It's like we just found a death altar in Twilight's basement, and then Twilight Sparkle says in chat, "Wait, what?" And she came to the fucking library. We showed her the death altar we discovered, and it just kind of became this cute roleplay thing that was happening. It's like, oh, this is bad. There must be a rogue book horse or something. like an imposter Twilight causing shit and with this creepy death altar, and we decided, okay, let's go to the Crystal Empire. Maybe we can find books to help us learn what the hell. And then the server crashed. And we didn't get the chance to.
Why do I have the feeling that crash wasn't an accident?
It was. The servers had been crashing all day. It was like its first week, so the servers were not very stable yet.
Understandable.
But
it was just a coincidence.
It was terrible timing, but I wish that hadn't happened because I would have loved to see that narrative through. It was so...
I actually recorded it, didn't I?
You recorded part of it. Like, you recorded it when we were already a ways in, yeah.
Oh, this I gotta see.
Hold on.
You can link
I'm finding the video now.
Yeah.
It's actually my most watched. I don't get that many views, but just a hobby.
Yeah, just put it in like the just put it in the what chamber or something, and people can check it out in their own time. But that was just a really it was just a really fun event that happened, and I am so glad that it did.
There we go.
It was.
Holy fuck, that image. Oh.
Yeah.
The
death altar in Twilight's basement.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we wrote a story about
Maybe
it.
that's the cause of it.
Yeah.
I liked the freaky episode with the love doll and everything.
She was having a panic attack because she had an evil altar fucking with her head.
Oh.
God. And speaking of love dolls, remember back in season 5, or was it season 6? You had that freaking body pillow of Daring Do.
Oh my god.
Oh.
That was. Did any of you actually notice that in the background at the convention?
I
did.
Oh god.
Okay, let's see.
I laughed myself.
You know, for kids.
There are two.
I laughed myself asleep that night.
There were two other stories in the Idiocyverse, though, so far. One of them wasn't technically a part of the Idiocyverse, but it still qualified enough as far as the notions to be put into the group. The time Twilight pranked Celestia, which is actually a prequel to Little Glimpses, ironically enough. Because Little Glimpses is a much more serious story, but the time Twilight pranked Celestia is like a random comedy.
You guys were so cruel in that one.
Poor Twilight.
You're gonna burn her tongue off.
Celestia would have never let it go that far.
I keep thinking of a joke too far.
And most recently was Switcheroo.
The idea you got from Neff and me, and it was, we didn't really thought you'd go through with it.
I did. Tom and I did.
We did.
The result was.
Oh God.
The result was. Something...
Initially, we weren't gonna do what we did with the Twilight chapter, but then at the end of the Rainbow Dash chapter, Brian wrote, "Poke me, poking," and it went from there.
We just kind of made it up as we went. And let's
Oh
see.
my goodness.
Right. Let's see. And of course, my favorite line in here. Let me see. Where is it? Is when Twilight said to Twilight, Twilight being the not changeling Twilight, "Oh, you can toot my horn all you want." Because changeling Twilight. Because changeling Twilight had said.
I think.
Go ahead.
I died inside, just a little bit, writing my Twilight some chains like that.
Oh,
God.
Good thing she had such an excellent organizer to keep her in line. Not to toot my own horn, and since we're technically two different people, I'm not. Oh, you can toot my horn all you want. Oh, nothing. Well, we broke
I think
Tobias.
you enjoyed that a little too much, Tone.
I enjoyed
My favorite
writing...
scene, though, is just at the end where Queen Twilight from Queen of the Hive just sees them doing it because Discord put her there just for the lols.
Oh my god.
Hold on. One last thing. Oh, you brilliant bastard. That was unexpected. It was fun, though I think our chaos magic was making them a little out of character. Were you recording them with a camera? Well, of course. I don't want to forget any of this. Perfect blackmail material. Blackmail for who? Yes. Blackmail for everyone.
Honestly, that first one you did with the crossover between Bug and the Herd and Change was just, I laughed so hard through that whole thing. The interaction between the two Chrysalises and the two Twilight, and then Twilight and Tone, just like,
which one's the nice one? That's my daughter, you cunt.
There you go. And then a friend of mine, Soren Zoris, when he read the chapter, he wasn't expecting there to be an April Fool's chapter, and so he posted a comment that said, "Looks at the joke chapter just popped out of the story without any indication," and then a picture that shows a guy just casually pushing a shark aside, an angry-looking shark, mind you, with a caption saying, "Excuse me, I was looking at the water."
oh my goodness.
Let's see. It was so much fun.
This is what happens when you put. This is what happens when you put us in a Skype chat together.
yeah.
Things
Never
you
should let it
two
happen.
get into.
Just so much insanity.
Insanity.
I love how much shit we're
There's
talking
not
about here that probably no one in the audience actually knows what we're talking about.
Well, the latest story
Right.
in the Idiocyverse you haven't put up yet of a reading because of spoilers to Little Glimpses.
Yeah, and the Death Altar in Twilight's Basement is a Patreon exclusive. It never went up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm actually rather surprised with how long the list of stories I have on FimFiction is getting.
I don't want to know.
I mean, let's hear. The first one was. I'm just gonna run through it just for nostalgia's sake. The first one was Fateful Lash, a piece of shit if ever there was one.
My first story was a piece of shit as well, so nothing new.
And I mean, in and its concept was cliche as all hell. The execution was poor. The pacing was poor. The villain was cliche as fuck. I didn't really know a whole lot about canon yet because I was still getting caught up, and season 3 was in progress, and I was somewhere in season 2. So some important information slipped me by. That one's just, no, I'm never touching that again. The next one was A Beautiful Swallow, which is also canceled, but it does have an ending. The reason I marked it as canceled is because there were 10 more chapters I wanted to add, but for my own sanity, I decided to just stop and just post the ending.
Sanity? Who needs sanity? Yeah. Insanity is way better!
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop there.
Sorry.
Yeah, A Beautiful Swallow actually has a lot of sentimental value to me, so, don't be an asshole about that one. It's actually kind of important. It means a lot.
And after that, we start getting into some of your darkness, like Shadow Dancers and the Deadly Dance of Shadows.
Well, actually, next up was Dance of the Stars, which was just kind of a bit of fluff I wrote just for the hell of it. It's
the first story of yours I ever wrote. I ever saw before you contacted me about the reading was Mother as well.
Oh God.
And next up was Shadow Dancers. I love the antagonists in that. They're very creepy and probably one of the most terrifying things I have ever conceived. I started on a sequel, The Deadly Dance of Shadows, but I never finished it. I kind of go back and poke at it occasionally, but I just don't know what to do with it. Atop a Rainy Hill was something I just wrote to get some stuff out of my system. Very abstract, no real point to it other than it was an outlet. And then, of course, there was Mother, the first story I ever wrote that actually got featured. Probably because of how freaking weird its concept is.
Yes.
Lovecraftian.
I've done a reading of it on my channel a couple years back at this point, but just for anyone curious listening in, the description reads, when rumors start circulating that Princess Celestia has become pregnant, Twilight is quick to dismiss the rumors as impossible. However, when Celestia confirms the rumors to be true, it becomes quite clear to the Princess of Friendship that something is terribly wrong. And I actually did a tie-in.
Namely, demon fillies to hell.
Attack of the Falstacorn Fetus.
Attack of the what?
The Falstacorn Fetus.
They had to blind themselves so they didn't get demonically possessed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I actually wrote a tie-in thing that wasn't a story. It was a choose-your-own-adventure audio thing on YouTube, the Journal of Morning Mist. And I am amazed.
They got featured on EQD.
Yeah, they actually posted that on Equestria Daily, much to my alarm. And I am just so happy that I actually managed to get the sucker posted by my desired deadline of Halloween. I actually made my deadline, and I am so fucking happy for that. Because it was a pain to write that thing. See, the basic format was I had... Each video was about 1 page long, so about 2 to 5 minutes in length each. And each one presents 2 choices. And each choice you make leads you down a different path, and each path has 2 more choices at the end of it. There were like 40 or 50 different endings. Now, most of them, granted, involved everyone dying or being possessed in even worse ways.
If I recall, there were no happy endings per se.
There was the best ending that was more bittersweet. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm dying, but at least it's not a painful death, and I got to retain my mind.
And you stop the demon filly from becoming a thing until a few years later when Celestia gets it.
Indeed. And the next story in my list is Only a Blind Filly, which has a very interesting premise, but it is very hard to write it. You see, the concept behind Only a Blind Filly is the notion that the main character is a young, pre-cutie mark filly who's blind, like she cannot see. She could see when she was an infant, but lost her eyesight like a few months into her life because of like some sort of deficiency or something. So, now as it is, I initially only actually managed to get the prologue up before I stopped for like almost a literal year. And then I wrote chapter 1 and 2, and I haven't touched it since, and the last time I touched it was back in July. And the reason why she's the main protagonist and the best hope Equestria has for survival is because she's blind. Her blindness renders her immune to the threat that's spreading across the whole thing. and also the threat can only affect ponies. It doesn't affect, non-pony creatures, so Spike is also immune. So it becomes a tag team between this blind filly and Spike, trying to figure out how the hell do we save the day. And then there was the bug in the herd, which I think is where I actually started to get some level of recognition. And that one was really fun to write. It's one of the few stories on the site I've ever actually finished.
And then they kissed.
Again, finally. And I'm sure everyone here knows what that one is. I did a reading of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chrysalis gave Tone Shift so much shit. I mean, let me see. It's like the start of chapter 8 was probably some of the most fun I had writing in a story in a long time.
Wasn't that the one where he kind of tricks everyone around them until even they were screwing?
Yes, that is the one. And
Poor Tone Shift.
Chrysalis just gave him so much shit. And it was all deliberate.
It's Chrysalis, of course she did.
Like, I mean, if you'll just humor me for a minute so that I can just recite the opening of that chapter, because it's so goddamn funny to me.
Go for it.
Oh, come on, Luster, stop it. No way. This tastes far too good for me to stop, Tone. Seriously, you're kind of creeping me out. Put that tongue away. No. Lust, please. Somebody might see us, and then we're both going to be in real trouble here. Well, just be quiet, and no pony will be the wiser. You're getting way too into this. You gotta... Oh, that's it. Just relax. And it was at about this point that Amare let out a highly embarrassed-sounding yelp and quickly retreated from the mostly empty dining cart, her entire face and much of her neck and shoulders having started burning a furious red. Luster poked her head up from where it had been hiding behind the food counter usually reserved for griffins, a cut of animal meat hanging from her mouth. And Tone Shift unconscious next to her because she cast a spell to knock him out. The misconceptions are real here.
When I think of Chrysalis and Tone Shift, the knocking out part is usually the first thing that comes to mind.
She does that a lot. Well, actually, that actually only really happened a lot in Idiocy in Spring. In the actual story, she only did it, like, twice, really.
3 times with Idiocy where she just hit him and hid him behind a tapestry.
I mean, like, the first time was when they first met before she erased his memories, and erasing his memories knocked him out in combination with his wounds from a manticore. And the second time was when she wanted to erase his memories again so she could leave without him being accused of treason, but she couldn't do it, so she just put him to sleep for 3 days.
And then after Bug in the Herd, we have the Utter Bastard story.
Yes. The mare that eats the monsters. Oh, boy.
So much hate.
Fuck you, Brian.
You utter bastard.
Now I know how it feels like to be people reading my stories.
I want to say, you killed Chrysalis.
Oh, spoilers.
Hate!
Yeah, I did do that. Admittedly, she's not the only one, but yes, I did. I did do. She had to become queen somehow.
Well, I had to become queen somehow, yes.
So I had Chrysalis stabbed several times and her leg torn off.
I mean, we've entered. Okay.
This is infectious.
All right, just gonna put out a quick disclaimer, really quick. Chances are the next 30 minutes of this video might actually have spoilers for stories any of us have written. So keep that in mind if you're listening on YouTube. If you don't want spoilers, well, I mean, that would be a good
say
time.
That after we say that Chrysalis died.
Well, I mean, you kind of someone just kind of dropped that with no warning. I'm just trying to damage control now.
Hades.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Dick.
I'm about to say we already.
But yes, unless if you don't.
If we're in complete spoiler territory now, then Longshot, Chrysalis, Draco, and Scorpion ripped them all.
I'm about to say I've started reading some of the sequel, and I have to say, Tom, that's just wow.
Yes.
We knew. I figured Scorpion was gonna be like a guy be around for a while, and in only the first act, you already killed him.
I forgot
That
he
was the
actually.
point, yes.
I actually kind of forgot he existed there for a little bit.
Exactly.
That was the point. I set him up to be a big character, and then he got fucking killed in a helicopter crash.
Dang.
And then Draco. Oh, that was a dick move, Tom.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yes.
Freaking Admiral would not get let.
I
up on
made
that.
Admiral Q Ponyform rage quit from that.
Yeah. And now I've got Admiral commenting on my stories. Imagine the conniption fit he'll throw if he learns you and I are associated.
Yeah, now we're killing off Draco in that way.
I'm pretty sure he.
And her heroic suicide.
I don't think he actually knows that we communicate on a daily basis and are good friends. I imagine if he does figure it out, he's probably gonna throw a conniption fit and go away. Because I mean, he does comment on little choices fairly frequently, so you know. Anyways,
Yeah.
And then of course, back to what's the shits I've done. Like Tom said, the mare that eats the monsters is my utter bastard story. This is where my darkness really started to shine through.
Yes. Yes, it did.
I mean, I fucking killed
He
off
blames me for
Celestia.
influencing him, and I blame him for
killed
influencing
Celestia.
me.
I did kill Celestia.
He did kill Celestia. Rather brutally. And then in the sequel, he had her grave desecrated.
Yeah.
And her skull eaten. Yay.
Yeah.
What is your deal with Celestia?
Oh, and don't get me started what he did to Cadence. Oh no.
No,
You
abandon!
That picture still gives me nightmares.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I haven't quite seen this yet. What did you do, Tone?
Just go to the third story and just get through the second story and go through the third, and you'll figure it out.
Oh god.
If you want the nightmare stare, that will go into
Oh
your
my
soul.
What did you do to Luna?
Luna's still alive.
Don't!
What?
Luna and Twilight, they're fine. They were just stoned for a while.
Why are you constantly shouting, "Don't!" Trinitu?
Because Cadence.
I don't want more nightmare fuel.
I did not
have
see that
enough
coming. Like, you, like when I was reading the chapter, I thought what you did to the main five was bad, and then Cadence is a freaking potato.
Ow.
Yeah.
Tone.
And hey, I drew inspiration for the series from Blood Sea. I mean, that's gonna have an impact.
I mean, yeah, I saw that, but still.
Hey.
You're a monster.
You're a monster.
So who do you think is the biggest bastard? Like Skajarma with making Kane's a potato, killing Celestia and ending the world, or me who killed Draco?
Okay, that's a difficult choice.
I'm about to say, if I had to compare which one of you were evil in terms of that, I don't know. Let's say you. About to say you killed
We've
off
debated this
Chrysalis,
many
Draco, and probably a lot more. And Tones killed off apparently Celestia, Cadence, and the rest of the main five. So
Oh no, the main five are alive. They're just
They're fine. They're fine.
We all
it's
have
just
our scars.
mutilated.
yeah, we all have our scars.
oh my goodness.
And then of course, there was the ending of the second story in that trilogy.
Man, I need to get through these stories now.
Yeah, you do. And you read.
I need to.
But I mean,
The ending of the second story caught me off guard, and I think my words were "you fuck," as well as utter bastard.
Yeah, that was the one. You fuck was for what I did to Cadence. Your response to the main five was to just do a perfect 360 table flip. You flipped the table and it landed back on its legs.
Well, I'm sure I'll be able to catch up to the table flipping in story number 4 of Change when I get there eventually.
Yeah.
I have something planned that will make people want to murder me.
I already
Horribly.
You kidding?
Oh my
but you're
goodness.
my friend, so I'm not going to.
Yet.
Friend zone.
And can I just say how much fun Skytooth was to write?
I'm glad he died. I just hope Horizon's next. Because fuck that guy.
Hades, do you know who Skytooth is?
I don't. I'm about to say I've only read the
An
first one.
abomination.
Skytooth was one of the primary antagonists in the second story. He was a fiend specifically engineered to go after Twilight and Luna.
Okay.
I won't go into more details on that. You can read it in your own damn time.
Okay, I need to. Really.
Now, let's hear. So, now, and after The Fiend That Heralds Dark Skies, the second story in the Fiend trilogy, was Twiggles the Bunny in Twilight's Castle. That was fun. I'm still working on The Ones Who Returned from Stone, which is the third and final story in the Fiend's trilogy. I'm actually halfway through the next chapter of that. But then I pretty much just stopped writing that story for like a few months to write little glimpses, and hands down, that's my longest story and also probably my most popular.
It is really good.
So a universe where Twilight almost lost her tongue and had alternate abort a timeline where Twilight tried to fuck herself.
Not that second one's not canon.
It still exists, though, unfortunately.
Everything is canon.
No. Anyway, Sam.
If everything is canon, then where do you find the gunpowder for it?
Discord.
That's not even worth dignifying with a response.
Reasons.
And then there was the time that Twilight pranked Celestia. And of course, I've also got Little Choices, the sequel to Little Glimpses, going right now. And it opens with a gut punch, according to Tom. And most recently is Switcheroo.
Yeah.
And that is my list of stories.
Long.
How many stories is that on yours in all, Brian? Now?
Good, sure, make me go back to the list so I can count. 1, 2, 3,
17.
4.
I can see. What are you counting? Is literally right at the top of your profile. 17 stories.
I didn't look at my profile. I went directly to the list of stories.
Smart.
I am smart. I swear it. I am smart.
You have 17. You have 17 stories, 17 blogs, and 206 followers. I'm just on 12. I say just.
More than me.
So, fun fact, there's a story I actually started reading a little ways back, a couple weeks ago, called The Gift of a Feather. It is adorable. Like, it is supremely cheesy in that really endearing way.
Did you ever finish reading Changeling Courtship Rituals, Ryan?
No, last I checked, I was a couple of chapters away from the ending, though. So I'll
Fair
probably
enough.
fix that at some point in the next couple weeks. I have to be in a very specific mood to read that. Same with Fallout Equestria, really.
I thought you said you couldn't get through Fallout Equestria.
Well, I mean...
I've gone through the original Fallout Equestria. I've gone through Pink Eyes, and I'm over halfway through Project Horizons.
Congratulations. My pacing through Fallout Equestria is significantly shorter. I mean, it's very well written, but I have to be in a very specific mood to really enjoy going through it.
Considering most of the chapters take at least, like, an hour or so to read.
Yeah. And I'm actually having to swallow my damn pride and tell my OCD to fuck itself and use the damn bookmarking system. I hate having to do that. I really do.
There's one chapter that I had to use the bookmarking system on. That was because it was 50,000 words long.
Yeah, and here's a
like,
fun fact.
towards the end.
Yeah, 50,000 words is literally the minimum requirement for something to be considered a novel just on its own.
Was that for the original, or was that
The
for
original,
Project
the
Horizons,
original,
Tom?
The original.
Project Horizons, the entire story is actually longer than the entire Harry Potter series.
Yes.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
actually longer than any novel series. Longer than Game of Thrones.
One chapter near the end, I kid you not, is so long that a recording of it took almost 4 hours.
Jesus.
No.
Which in Fallout Equestria or Project Horizons?
Project Horizons, yes.
God damn.
Yeah.
I would never be
I've
able
just
to do
got-
a reading of that story ever. I struggle with just chapters
Yeah, I've
that
just
take
got-
an hour
Oh,
to go
you-
through.
My friend Visual Pony, he went through it and he says it about near killed him.
I mean, there's a reason I try to limit my readings to stories that, one, are complete, and two, sit in at around a 2,000 to 5,000 word average for chapters. A few outliers are fine, but in general, I don't like the chapter lengths to sit higher than 2,000 to 5,000. That's my sweet spot. That's my ideal range, because then I can generally record the whole thing in 15 minutes to half an hour. But with
I'm sure you'll enjoy DM Content, which is at 1,000 over your limit. That sounded like a happy noise.
I'm just making sounds here, alright?
Well, a long time to get the 6,000 words.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the thing is that...
I couldn't even write something that large.
I mean, the thing is that word counts... When it comes to my readings and my recordings, word counts make the difficulty of the actual chapter itself when I'm recording, it increases by orders of magnitude. So, like, a 7,000 word chapter is going to be several times harder than a chapter that's, say, 3,000 words. It's only twice as long, but that is going to have a severe impact because that number increases exponentially. It's when I'm actually recording, it takes longer and longer because of my pauses and edits I have to make live. Some of my voice filters, for example, I cannot apply with just with just a keystroke in Reaper, which, by the way, I've started defaulting to using Reaper for my recordings. I'm going to do that for a few weeks and see how it goes instead of just using Reaper for my main voice filter and jumping over to Audacity. Audacity has a few problems with how long it takes for it to render stuff, notably when I'm in the middle of editing, adding new files, and zooming out so that I can find another spot, causes the whole piece of software to lag like a motherfucker. So I've taken to just using Reaper. That's part of why I can't actually turn on my my filters right now, because I mean I would if I could, but I can't because Reaper's actually off right now, and the way I currently have it configured would not permit me to even do that. At least not without an hour of technical hassle. So, but at any rate, let's see here. Let me see. Now, my brain just died.
Nothing new.
You shut up. but like a chapter, like the average chapter length of stuff on my channel is between 2,000 and 3,000 words, and those usually clock into 15 to 30 minutes, depending. A chapter of Human Nature that clocks in at 8,000 words is going to be over an hour long, as was evidenced with chapter 17, I believe. But there is another very noticeable hiccup from that I have to deal with. As I'm going through, I do have to stop and make edits, and the longer chapter is, the more of those edits there are. And the more complex a chapter, the more intricate those edits are going to be. And so a longer chapter is going to be more intricate, there's going to be more stuff to it, and it's going to take even longer to record than you might expect. It's going to take, like, if a 15-minute chapter takes 30 minutes to record, just as a guesstimate when we take into consideration edit times and whatnot, then an hour-long chapter is probably going to take closer to 2.5 hours or 2 hours to record, or significantly longer. And so it creates it's stressful. I don't have the sort of patience to do that consistently, which is why the long, really long chapter stories are reserved for Wednesday and only Wednesday, and I only do one of them a week.
That's understandable, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of why I started doing this in the first place. I mean, in general, the way I see it, you only get the one life, and it's too short to waste it doing stuff you don't like, and I would not like most conventional, traditional workforce jobs. I'd probably be fired within a week because of how much I question everything, and my fiercely independent and rebellious nature, and the fact that I hate authority figures most of the time. It just comes with being me. So and that's why.
Wow, you must love Celestia.
Celestia's nice. I can forgive her, and she's not real, so so it's beside the point.
Heretic!
She's real in our hearts.
Okay.
Bingo!
Okay, cool. Your heart is there strictly for pumping blood, so you should probably get that looked at. I don't think those sorts of hallucinations are healthy.
You know, for a writer, you have a shit imagination.
Well, so look at his last video he just put up, just kind of analyzing that.
He hasn't actually got any imagination, he's just demented.
Sorry, I've been a little skiddly boppy boo.
God. Like, how do you just come
No
up with
words!
this shit?
What was that, Tom, or whoever it was that said that?
How do you come up with this stuff? Just, oh, I know that there's that one throwaway line. Let's make a conspiracy theory video about it. Why not?
When I'm in the shower. That was where I came up with that video. I was just thinking, God, I love that weird.
Of course. Where else?
I mean, I was just thinking about that weird line in my head. It's like, okay, I mean, I love it, and it's like, and it's like I just watched the clip with the line because I love that line. It's adorable. And then when I'm in the shower, it's like, okay, now wait a minute, I could make a video out of this. And then the whole video just popped into my head. It's like, I'm gonna make a video out of this. And then I made a video about it the next day, and then it went up on Saturday.
And then you had a little breakdown at the end because it was weird. Who commented that at the end? Like, they're in Ponyville right now, alive.
Shit. Hold on, let me look through my notes. I know I've got something for this. I've got
Honestly,
something
though, it may have been a piss take, but it's actually unfortunately realistic to some people who make internet theories.
Yeah. Someone just became a frog.
Oh, sorry, that was me. Sorry.
I love it when that happens to me when I'm recording. Because that's like the recurring gag in my blooper reels is me just suddenly
I'm about to
turning
say,
into a frog.
I recall hearing that quite a bit.
Yeah, it just keeps happening in my blooper reels. And the reason why I say that that's me turning into a frog is because one time, back when I was still doing my forgiveness pending reading, no, that's not coming back, don't ask.
Aww.
I mean, I should
Is it coming back, Brian? Is it coming back?
Fuck you. No.
Oh, come on, Tom.
No. Anyways, but in one chapter, forgiveness pending, and this was back before I got like a really decent mic and good edit, and actually started figuring out the ins and outs of like noise cancellation and decent editing techniques, and actually editing out minor mistakes. At one point, the frog noise happened, and I didn't even notice it because I was really invested in what was happening in the narrative at the time. So I didn't notice that frog noise had occurred. And someone commented on it on that video because my forgiveness pending reading got a lot of comments back in the day, and someone put a timestamp and said, Skadarma's turned into a frog. At that timestamp. And that noise still just snakes its way out occasionally, and when it does, I generally, do the thing where it's like, oh, hey, I just became a frog. And it's an entertaining sound, that much is sure, and it makes its way into almost all of my blooper reels, which I put out a blooper reel every month.
It's funny how it started with that story. I recall it was either in the first story or Forgiveness, where there was a scene where Moonmender was just like something about hallucinations and a frog.
Fucking frogs. That's a running joke that apparently somehow he and Pinky got involved with frogs, but they drop hints about like, how was I supposed to know I'd leaped that high? But they never actually elaborated what the fuck happened. It's one of those things where it's like, what the hell? What are they talking about? What frogs? What sense? Make it. The rest of the story actually makes pretty good scientific sense. What the hell is this?
Dude, it involves Pinkie Pie. Just don't.
I mean, but the rest of the story.
Don't question it.
But I mean, the rest of the story, even when it was
Pinkie Pie.
Shut up! I'm trying to make a point. The rest of the story, even with Pinkie Pie. Shut up! Even when Pinkie Pie was there were plenty of parts that still made perfect scientific sense to a degree. Like, they were actually able to explain Pinkie Pie's shenanigans to a degree with rudimentary science. And then it's not so much that there's no scientific explanation for this. It just never covers what happened. It's never elaborated on. They just keep referencing this event, but we don't know what the hell happened. It's like the jockstrap incident in Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They keep referencing it, but
Hey,
we
Brian.
don't know what the hell it is.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Pinkie Pie.
Shut up.
Pinkie Pie.
Yes, Pinkie Pie. That is a creature that exists in this universe.
In this universe
Yay, that's the
and the
acceptance
next.
tone. You do not question our Lord and Savior.
I question every Lord and Savior.
Uh,
I question all of them.
Well, just don't break a pinky promise, otherwise you end up on the cupcake table.
oh, no,
Oh my god,
no.
cupcakes.
I don't know.
No! Not cupcakes. Oh.
I actually referenced that in one of my stories, if I recall.
Yeah, you did. Like,
It was in.
because Pinkie wanted to make like a basement that she could then turn serpents into cupcakes with. Like she wanted to.
I remember that.
She wanted to like make an extension onto her secret party planning cave. That was the cupcake making cave or something. And it's like, I want to turn them into cupcakes.
I wonder what changing flavored cupcakes taste like.
Well, they'd be green and glowy and would probably taste kind of tangy and sour. Maybe a little
And hard,
spicy.
because, you know, chin.
Mm.
They taste of love.
Strawberries. They taste like strawberries.
It astounds me you guys can make such demented stories and then you come up with stuff like Little Glimpses and Little Wings and stuff, and that's just adorable.
Yeah. Well, you'll enjoy the next
greatest
change, because
mind.
the next
greatest-
change actually follows Twilight's daughter in the Summer Sun celebration. It's a slice of life story, more like Little Wing. Before I get to the fourth story, which is back to the dark, horrible shit where you're going to hate me again.
Oh, God.
Inevitably.
Hate. Don't hate.
So
love and
enjoy the
tolerate.
peacefulness of the Summer Sun while you can.
I'm gonna love and
After next
tolerate
week.
the shit out of you.
Oh my goodness.
Is that a reference to something?
It's a reference to back when the bronies were a 4chan thing only.
And I get that reference. Surprisingly.
Oh my goodness.
So it's, there is. Let me see. There's one other thing. We're almost out of time. We've got like 3 minutes before I gotta close things off. So.
Yep.
Just trying to think of something entertaining to end us off on, and I'm drawing a blank.
My little pony, my little pony.
Give us a solo.
My little.
My little pony. I used to wonder friendship could be my little pony. The ocean is magic with me. Adventure, tons of fun. A beautiful heart full of song.
Full
Sharing
and strong.
kindness, easy feet, and magic.
Magic,
You're all my very best friends. Give me my fucking award now.
And the copyright too!
And with that,
I don't think it was good enough to invoke copyright.
Uh,
all right, and
let's
with,
go.
and with that, I think that this first episode of Jibber Jabber is over. I think that's a good place for us to end off. So, thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I have been your host, Skijaramas. Thank you once again for joining us. Keep listening. Have a good time. And thanks for listening to us talk about basically nothing for a while. With any luck, this will be fun enough to keep it going on a Sunday basis. So, yeah, keep listening, keep your ears open, keep your minds open. Have a good time. See you around, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye!